What is the actual shelf life of white flour? In today's video, we're going to find out. Hey Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene, and today we have a special treat for you. So we were gifted some old white flour. Now this is really cool because this flour has been stored in a cool basement inside of number 10 cans. So it's like the ideal storage conditions. You really cannot get much better than this. So we have over here on this side, these are cans from 1994. 28-year-old white flour. And then on this side, these are from 2003, so that's about 19 years old. So this is gonna be a great comparison. So we went and we bought a brand new bag of bread flour from Costco yesterday, so this is brand new. And then we've got these other two, and all of these are bread flour, which is gonna make it really nice to be able to compare them.
Right.
But we have one problem before we start.
This can has a very deep seam, and it really reminded us that we have to have good can openers. We can have all the wonderful food storage, but if we don't have a good way to get into it, we got a problem. So the solution to this is just going to be that we flip it over, and this seam is more normal, so it will open up much more easily. But let's put in a plug for making sure that we have the right tools to get the job done. And
not just one can opener, but several. If you've got...
You need many.
Yeah, if you've stored your food in Mylar bags, that's totally different. But when you've stored it in these really tough number 10 cans, you need to make sure that you have a way to open them. So we'll be right back. Okay, the lids are off and we've had a little surprise. But first, let's start by inspecting the fresh flour. Now when we look at the fresh flour, it's light, fluffy. I can't smell because of my recent little illness, but
there's not much really to smell there.
All right, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? So the color looks good, the texture looks good. Now let's do the one that's 19 years old.
Still not much odor to it, but there is a little bit of a metallic
smell.
Yeah.
Which you can actually usually get rid of if you like put it into another bowl and just let it air out for a few days. That a lot of times helps. The texture of this, it's not as light and fluffy, a little bit more sort of grainyish. Anyway, okay, so there's that one. But now, the surprise.
Yeah, so this one turned out just a little bit weird. You can see some little spots here. They almost look like oil spots.
They're mold
spots.
It's mold.
And I was just gonna see if they go deeper. They're this kind of just clumped around that. You can see it kind of just is a little weird and kind of a little bit scary actually. Because it's yeah, probably a mold or something.
It's absolutely a mold.
Definitely not something that we'd want to go ahead and use.
Yeah, no, okay, so, and that's part of the thing, right? When we evaluate any type of food storage to see whether or not it's safe to eat, the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna visually look at it. And one of the things that we're looking for is any sign of mold or changes in the color, the texture, if the smell is off. If any of those things are happening, you just chuck it because it is not worth it. So we're not going to use this can at all. But I do think that you should open up a few more cans and see if any of them are moldy or if that was just this one can. So we'll be back.
We opened another one of the 1994 cans, and as you can see, it looks pretty normal. We're going to go ahead and dump that into this bowl and just kind of get a feel for how messy I can make things here.
But there's an oxygen absorber in here. So this one seriously looks better. What do you think?
Oh yes, definitely than this.
Even in the bottom, I'm not really seeing anything. I feel sort of some clumps in here. What do you think? Can you feel those little clumps? Now, I don't know if that had contamination at the time it was packaged, or if it's, because actually it shouldn't go bad, right? If there's no contaminants in there, it should just get older and kind of not be unfit for use, but be more unappetizing. But this one looks okay, and it definitely looks different than that one. So
yeah,
I don't know. What do you think? Can we make bread out of this, or is that too dangerous?
No, I think we can.
Okay.
I think we can. I don't see anything there that's disturbing to me. That's like, ooh, it's just, you know, it's just older. So
that was a really interesting discovery. So now what we're going to do, I'm looking at the three of these, and as I look at them together, we had dumped the bag into this bucket, and that's what we usually keep our bread flour in. But as I'm looking and comparing the difference, even though this is 19 years old, it's looking like it's okay. Like I said, it's grittier. And then this one, I'm a little bit afraid of because of the other can, but we'll see how it goes.
We just didn't see anything in this one that was, you know, popping up red flags.
Dangerous.
So, yeah.
Nothing that's dangerous. So, and it's so much better to rotate through, right? The nutritional content of this one, okay, well, white flour doesn't have a whole lot of nutrients in it, but it has been enriched. Yeah. This is going to be significantly more than this one, and especially than this one, because the vitamins will degrade over time in storage, and so you're just not going to have the nutrient level that you need. The caloric content should remain the same. So let's get busy making some bread.
Just another little side note, we noticed the can lids as we were looking at this flour, and noted that this is the first 1994 can that we opened, the one that had what appeared to be mold. This is the second one that we opened from 1994, and you can see the lids are very different. This one almost looks like something was corroding, or that the lining was doing something weird. Very, very different in their look. I think this is indicative also of some serious problems.
Okay, I'm going to start by making my control batch first. This is being made with the flour that I just purchased yesterday. And I'm using the Pantry Secrets recipe. I really like this recipe. But it takes 10.5 cups of flour and a half a cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon salt, and then 3 heaping tablespoons of yeast, instant yeast. And then we mix this together just really quick. This is sunflower lecithin, and we just put 3, about a quarter size spots of the sunflower lecithin on the top here. It does a great job of replacing the gluten. It helps it to just have that beautiful, wonderful texture. And then I'm just going to let all of that mix before I put the hot water in. Okay, and then I just add my water and let this mix. Oops, it should be a little bit like a thick cookie dough. If it's not, I need to add a little bit more water. Okay, once it's done kneading, I pour it out onto my countertop that's been cleaned, of course, and sprayed or oiled really well so that it doesn't stick. But I don't want to add any more flour to this. And I'm just going to divide it into 4 equal pieces. I am just going to, this dough is beautiful, right? There's a lot of really good elasticity in it. Okay, we've got these formed into 4 fairly equal loaves, and I'm just going to let them raise until they're doubled. It's a little bit cool in here, so I'm thinking it'll probably be 25 minutes, and then we'll pop them in a 350-degree oven. It's time to start on our second one. This one's 19 years old. It looks good. as I was working with it a little bit, it does look yellower. And even with my limited smelling ability, I can smell the tin on the can, or the metal in the can. So I'm just gonna put the 10.5 cups in here. I'm gonna follow this recipe exactly, but it's kind of interesting. This will make 4 smaller loaves of bread. And as you can see, it looks like there might be enough for 1 more loaf of bread in here. So that's about what you can count on, is 4 or 5 small loaves of bread from one of these number 10 cans, if you're not adding a whole bunch of other stuff. Okay, this dough actually still looks nice. The coloring is off. It's kind of yellowier. Yellowier, is that a word? The coloring is a little bit different, but the texture looks pretty good. It's not as light as the other one, but it still is working up pretty nicely. And then, so I made a little mistake. I didn't think about not having enough bread pans to put all these in. So the first batch is in the oven. This is the second batch, and we're gonna get a little bit creative here. And I'm going to make some baby loaf pans, or baby loaves of bread. This second batch that's of the 19-year-old flour, the texture just wasn't quite as good. It looks like it's still performing really well, so we'll see how it works. This is the flour that's 28 years old. And this is the second container we opened because, quite frankly, the first one had mold or something in it, and there's no way that I would feed that to my family, even just for a taste test. Woo! Now this flour is a whole lot finer than both of the other ones. I'm not sure if that's a consequence of age or if it was originally just more of a sifted kind of flour. But we have our sugar, salt, and 3 tablespoons. This is a lot of yeast. Like, this is a lot of yeast. And maybe that's one reason why it'll still raise. Normally, if I put in the required amount of liquid, I might need to add a couple tablespoons, maybe a quarter of a cup, but especially because the humidity should be the same in the air right now. This kind of looks a little scary. We'll just let that mix for a while and see what happens. Okay, so I don't even quite know how to really describe the difference. It's just not the same. It's denser. It's harder to work with. Not like it's impossible, because you can totally see that I'm shaping it into the loaves, right? It's got little, although it's really fine, it has little kind of chunks of flour in it. Which isn't a huge deal, I guess. I don't know. We'll see how it cooks up. All right, ladies, this is your task. So one of these is from 1994, one is from 2003, and one is made from flour that was purchased fresh yesterday. So will you evaluate these and let us know if you can see which is which?
Were they all made with the same recipe?
Exactly the same recipe.
Okay, I think this one looks the best.
That is a nice looking loaf, but this one is nice too.
Yes, this
that
one
one's
looks
a lot lighter and
it
a little
is.
bit less
And
fluffy. It looks
yeah,
like.
it's just not this.
This one's beautiful.
Look at the crumb there. I can see a little difference, but I can't tell why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one it's less of a smooth cut.
This is
On
really
that one
pretty.
down there.
I think.
And this one looks pretty too.
Yeah.
So which one shall we try first?
This one.
Okay.
It's very chewy.
It tastes very wheaty.
Cleanse your little
I
palate.
think I have a little aftertaste though, maybe.
Yeah.
Should we try this one now?
Sure. I'm still.
Hurry up and chew. More fluffy.
I think it tastes good.
Does this one have the same aftertaste as the first loaf?
I don't think so.
No.
This one smells funny. That one. Do you smell it?
It smells very wheaty.
Jeff or whatever.
I don't. I think this one has more of an aftertaste than that one to me.
So evaluate all three. Give us the general impression of each one of them. Which one do you think is the fresh one?
I would
think
say
it's
that
the
one.
middle one.
I would say one of these.
This one has a funny smell to me that the other two don't. I think this one's the softest. This one was a little more chewy. I took a bite of the crust and maybe that's why, but it seemed really chewy. This one was yummy.
Or a little more attractive loaves, but that's all.
But
So
I think I like this one.
It's very interesting because they're all baked the same amount of time in the same oven, right? The one in front of you, Emily, is the oldest. And definitely it was harder to work with. It's kind of cracked. It's smelled.
Not as pretty.
Now that you've tasted it, I'll tell you that the first can that we opened actually had mold in it.
Oh.
Yeah, we did not use that one.
Okay.
But that was really interesting for us to find mold in there.
Well, yeah.
So 94 is just definitely too old, right? But I was surprised because the shelf life of flour is about 5 years, and that's when you get the good quality that you have in the middle. But the one in front of Emmy, that's 19 years old.
Really?
And it was pretty decent. I mean, it's very much edible. Yeah. So.
And this was actually edible if you had to, but it's nice to have.
This
fresh.
is nice and fresh.
Excellent.
That's
Thank you,
interesting.
ladies.
You're welcome. Can we eat all the bread now?
Okay, so now these guys have no clue what bread they are eating, but I am disclosing the age of the bread. So one of these is made from white flour from 1994, one from white flour from 2003, and one from white flour that was bought at Costco yesterday. So what I'd like each of you to do is first, I'd like the three of you to look at these loaves and evaluate them.
They definitely look like bread. That they do.
Okay, do you notice any differences? This is the same recipe.
Cooked, less cooked, a little less cooked. I know
This
about
one's
bread.
all cracked.
Don't try and trick me.
This one
Looks
doesn't
like it didn't
look
stick
as
very well.
nice, for sure.
Yeah, this one looks.
That one looks kind of
It's
strange.
less cracky. This one's still a little cracky.
Yeah.
I don't know what people look for in bread.
Okay, well, no, that's okay. That's okay. Okay, now I'd like for each one of you to try the same loaf at the same time and talk about it.
Listen.
You want to try that one first?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay?
take a piece.
It does taste like bread.
Texture's pretty good.
I do like the texture.
Okay, and you don't have to eat the whole piece because we're going to be eating. Okay, or you can eat the whole piece. Okay, so is there anything about it that is unique? Does it smell or look different, or is it just fine?
It tastes kind of sweeter, but I don't know if that's the flour or just the recipe because I haven't tried the others yet.
All right.
Pretty good.
Okay, let's try the one in the middle.
Bread.
Hold on, I gotta finish chewing the other one. This one smells about the same.
Still bread.
Tastes pretty similar to me. Has good texture.
similar, but I like this one more for reasons I do not know.
You like this one in the center more?
I would probably like that one just a little bit more.
How about you, Christy?
That tastes good to me.
Okay,
Still
I don't know.
so no real big difference. Okay, try this one.
Bread. This one's warm.
Oh, it is warm. It also feels different. It smells different too.
It tastes like flour.
Does it smell a good different or a bad different?
It tastes like flour.
It smells like
A little different.
stale flour.
It's flour. It's bread. Imagine that.
Yeah, no, I don't like
Okay, you don't like that one?
And that's the
This
old
one,
one.
no,
Yeah, you're right. This
Oh,
one
wow.
is
I'm
the
gonna eat
old
this
one. So this one is made from flour that is 28 years old.
That's a lot of years.
And the loaf, as I'm looking at it, because I know these things, because I was handling it, the flour just doesn't perform the same. And so now it's interesting that it comes out in the taste of the bread to you guys too. And I will tell you, which one was your favorite?
No one.
I think I like this one the best.
That's the one that has the new flour. And so you can tell. So are they all edible?
I couldn't eat very much of that one. I didn't like it.
Yeah, mostly these two. These two would be quite
I would
edible
eat
to
those.
me.
But this one's not really edible then.
It's fine. It's bread.
If I was really hungry, I'd eat it, but it just doesn't look as good. It doesn't have as good a texture, and it has a little funny smell and
Yep.
maybe a little taste to it. So
Okay.
It does smell like flour.
All right. This was a really interesting experiment because I have had flour that was 20 years old before, and it was kind of nasty. I ended up just using it for Play-Doh because I'm thinking I'm not going to cook for my family with this. One of the other things, sometimes your old flour, we talked about this a little bit, but in the cans will start to taste like the can, which is in any food that you make with that flour. And so if you would like to get rid of that and you still need to use that flour, if you just put it into a bowl and set it out, a lot of times that smell and that flavor will dissipate a little bit. But the bottom line is, which bread's best?
the newest.
Yeah.
So the real bottom line is rotation. This isn't stuff that we just stick on our shelves and leave for many, many years. This is stuff that we need to rotate through, and the fresher it is, the better it's going to be. So if we keep rotating through, it's always just going to be there for us.
Yeah. So optimal shelf life for white flour is 5 years, stored in a cool, dry, dark location, in an airtight container. If you add an oxygen absorber to the white flour before you seal it up in a Mylar bag or like one of these cans, it really extends the shelf life. So, and the cooler the temperature, the longer it'll store. Now, white flour is not the same as wheat. You can store wheat for 30 years and still make a fantastic loaf of bread. It doesn't degrade. Any of your milled products are going to degrade faster than the whole berry would. So, now for the question of the day, Johnny.
What is your favorite kind of bread? Comment below. And thanks for being part of the solution.